Here with Jessica Overhiser, one of the referees, actually working on the jury table today at the NWSC, the National Women's Championships for College Wrestling. So tell us how you got involved in wrestling. I heard you wrestled a little bit.
Yeah, so I wrestled in college at Wayland Baptist, and I was actually coaching a group of girls when I may or may not have kind of yelled at an official, and he said, "How about you come out here and try this?" And so that's exactly what I did. I went out there and I found a new passion, and been doing it for about 7, almost 8 years now, and just really enjoying it.
Everyone starts local, right? So where was local for you when you started blowing the whistle?
So I grew up in Wisconsin, so it was just kind of a little hometown tournament, and then progressed into the state tournament, national tournaments, and now some international tournaments.
Yeah, and obviously when you first got started, I mean, we got a little nervous when you go out to wrestle in a match. Was it the same way for you when you went out there and blew the whistle? That, obviously you want to do your best, but it's not something you did a lot of.
Absolutely. I was lucky enough that I just did freestyle and Greco. I wrestled both of those in high school, and then I also wrestled freestyle in college. So I knew the rules to an extent, but I didn't know any of the hand signals or positioning, how to do any of those things. So you always want to get the call right, and sometimes it's really hard with the high pace of freestyle wrestling. So kind of nervous every time, and then once you get into your groove, you just kind of flow.
So you must have had some mentors early on. Were there any individual officials that kind of took you under your wing, or were at least encouraging or helpful in teaching when you started?
Absolutely. The whole Wisconsin team, we got Cody and Casey Gessel, Jared Benrud. Actually, one of them's here, Jake Frias, and then the Minnesota guys as well. And then, continue on in the future, those national level guys kind of helped bring me up and kind of tee me up to be the better official that I am.
When did you start feeling comfortable on the mat? Like, hey, I'm pretty good at this.
Oh gosh, it took me probably 2 or 3 years to feel completely comfortable out there, that I was making the right calls, I was in the right positions, but still to this day I find little things that I need to work on.
Talk about your first international event.
My first international event was actually in the fall. It was the Bill Farrell up in New York. It was very different working with officials from different countries and working with higher level talent, as well as the athletes are from different countries as well. So sometimes we can say things here in the U.S. And our athletes know how to reply to those things or respond to those things because English is their first language, but people from other countries don't have that same knowledge sometimes. And they're usually pretty good about it, but it was still hard because I have a accent and sometimes they don't understand my accent as well.
Is there an accent for Wisconsin? Now, come on.
I think it's just the Midwest accent, but I'm also, went to school in Texas, so I got a little bit of y'all in me, so a little Texas drawl as well sometimes.
So talk about refereeing women's events. I mean, you're here at the Women's National Tournament. Do you take a little pride at being part of that because it's a sport that you were involved in and helped develop?
Absolutely. I am always trying to grow women's wrestling and trying to get these younger women into officiating as well. But it does have a special place in my heart because I would have loved to have a female official on the mat back in the day when I was wrestling. And I continue to coach at the high school level, and I'm helping trying to create another a program down in Texas for college, and we're just trying to grow these things, and growing college wrestling is going to help grow women's officiating. So we need this to be as good as it can be to kind of get them to come over and help us out when they're done.
Now you're one of the top officials here at a national tournament, right? Helping figure out whether or not the calls are right. Talk about the process of being with the jury and being part of that.
Yeah, so being a head official of a tournament is kind of a lot of administration stuff, and sometimes you miss being out on the mat and having a little fun making those calls. And then of course the calls that you do get to review on the jury are those harder, tougher calls. The greatest thing is we have 2 views here, so I can switch to one side or the other of the mat and get a better look at exposure and the lines and step outs. So having that technology here has been super helpful to make those calls, but sometimes it's just the little nuances of being able to slow down that video to really make that decision.
As an athlete, you set goals. What kind of goals do you have in officiating?
I want to be one of the best international officials that the U.S. has. So working towards that at this point, and then continue to be the best U.S. official that I can be myself. And that just is getting these higher level matches, getting good mat time, and being put in these positions where I have to make these tough calls on the jury.
Talk about your coaching. I mean, you're not just refereeing, right?
Yes, so we actually just started a club program at Tarleton State University for women's and men's, and we have the aspirations to turn that program into a Division I program, to be the first Division I program in Texas.
Yes, no, I've heard that. Is there a lot of support there?
Yes, we have some. We're still working on our fundraising, but we still need some more help. But we're just going to keep continuing to fundraise so that we can make this program happen.
So what's the most fun thing about officiating?
The people.
What's the most challenging?
The people.
That's true, because you have to deal with coaches, you have to deal with fans, parents, athletes, right?
Yes. The officiating crew is great. You know, these are some friends that I've made that they'll be lifelong friends for me, and it's really amazing how close-knit the wrestling community is. But, you know, when you're a coach, you're always fighting for your athletes, so sometimes, you know, tempers can get a little bit high, and diffusing those situations can be hard, but our officials have done a great job here with that.
What would you tell someone else that might have an interest in officiating, especially one of the young women that are coming out of the sport like you are?
Just do it. Find somebody local that you trust, or find an official that you've seen, and ask them if you can just hop on in, and then we can kind of teach you to go through the process of getting your license, getting you to local tournaments to start out, teaching you the ropes, and we can do 2 on the mat at one time for those initial training sessions, so you're never going to be left out to dry, especially with 3-man mechanics. You always have someone who has your back, and now with the jury system, you have that as well. So biggest thing is just go for it.
Excellent. Well, hey, I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
It's fun getting to know you.
You too.